That should, however, not be necessary. No country should submit a report to the UN that its sector has not deliberated on, got through, owned, and it's also a requirement that once you've submitted it, it becomes public domain within the country, to enable countries, because after you've submitted it, it takes about a year before the committee actually calls you to come and engage you on that.
With one further question, otherwise it will be...
It's a question and a comment. I'm speaking as an academic and as a researcher, and I'm also involved in international projects in Palestine, for instance, and I'm monitoring the processes there. Our biggest problem, I think, is with how do people understand what monitoring progress as well as and impact evaluation is. And I've just wondered, you know, if NGOs, etc., you know, and the government, South African government, support organizations in getting the expertise on how to monitor progress and how to evaluate it. It would be a really good of great help.
And I think the chairperson said it right in the beginning. Monitoring can be very complex, can be very complicated. Part of what we're looking at is how do we ensure that we develop synergy in our approach to monitoring, in how we view it, which models we use in terms of monitoring. What we've agreed now with WDSC, for example, is that from next year we will develop a toolkit which would include the civil society as well as government, as well as private sector, that we can on the same system monitor, but independently so. But at least that we're talking the same language, that we have the same understanding at the different spheres of government as well as in terms of civil society. And I think that's why I was saying, if an organization drafts up a budget, do they actually show us all actually what kind of participation that you will also get if you invite people with intellectual disabilities in? Some of the constraints, some of the dilemmas in getting that support that we actually need, because we're not just an isolated group in society. We are also in desperate need of support from other groups and in good interaction with the other groups. So it can be actually from one side or the other side of the social disadvantaged or socially advantaged people can have their own perspectives on if we want to go look for jobs, if we want to have our right to meaningful jobs, then we could meet different kind of attitudes towards us. Some people who are very poor themselves or unemployed could think, are you going to take the few jobs there are? Maybe I could do better. And a lot of people who has in the other side of the economic scale, they could say, are you sure you're productive enough? Is you sure you're effective enough to do this job? And that kind of discussions we have to have with ourselves, and with also here in the international way, that how can we claim our rights to jobs in the same equal way and a non-discriminative way that everyone else does, and not being target of bullying, on the opposite, having support for wanting to do jobs and wanting to participate in that way. Also on civil rights, there's a lot of good example internationally also on that. The vote, your vote is your vote, and that's stressed that you should have the right to have your own say. But who is going to help you with that? When you have intellectual disabilities, or maybe you have severe intellectual disabilities, you need quite a lot of help to figure out who are you going to vote for and to have it done. Who's going to do it? Am I, as a mommy, going to go with him if he wants to vote for something I don't like? Or is it an official who should do it? Who is going to show him the pictures, what you can choose from? Or is he just going to vote for the one he's been seeing on television? So who is going to ensure, who's going to make those things in place that we don't take the role that we don't want other people to take as well? actually being the one that manipulates with people with intellectual disability. So that's another issue of the dilemmas that we are facing. Also, in inclusive education, we heard yesterday that from Holland that the mainstreaming is the absolute best in terms of getting skills, getting academic skills, and also self-monitoring skills and so on. But a lot of discussions in the Western world goes to this subject. Do we want every pupil to read?
And she says, I was perfectly able until about 6 months ago, and suddenly I'm labeled like this. So yeah, Hayley's not disabled, she is definitely differently abled. And maybe being differently abled means that she doesn't get it the first time she tries to ride a bike, or the first 20 times, because we have tried it 20 times. But that's fine, and that's cool with me, because at some stage or another, when Hel wants to ride a bike, she's going to get onto that bike, and she will ride it, and that's fine with me, and she knows that it's fine with me. Hayley's diagnosis became the driving force of my life, and I must tell you, and I'm sure there's some others here that identify with, how your household almost becomes a Down syndrome land. You know, and everything just revolves around Down syndrome at some stage or another. What happened to us was, I had a previous teacher's training diploma from the good old days. So for 27 years I hadn't been in the system of education. And when I was 7 days old, because I was so anxious about this whole diagnosis, and I knew zero about it, except when I got home, I just started reading and reading and reading everything. I was consuming everything, and it was consuming my life. When she was 7 days old, I started with physiology, and it just carried on, and I persisted, and like the father that sat here just now, nothing, every avenue was almost exhausted. So when poor old baby was therapized to within an inch of her life at the age of 3, I decided, okay, it's time to go to preschool, and she attended my friend's preschool, where she stayed until we leave from PE. It was a mainstream preschool. She coped fine. She went to grade 000, they call that now, and then we moved to Port Elizabeth. So I put her and my other 2 girls all in the same school, and I had one in primary school, one in high school, and baby in preschool, and she did fine. But then, because my children came from a Christian school environment, we changed schools again. And when I took them to that school, it was actually magnificent how the principal of that school embraced Hayley coming there. It was not an inclusive school by a long shot. It was a school, however, that had the heart and a heart to give a child a chance, a child with potential the chance. And the principal was absolutely marvelous. We went and spoke to him before the time, and he said, okay, now the program that they started in Dublin, where people with different abilities, and especially Down syndrome, were allowed in universities. I must tell you, when these young people went up there and told their stories about their student cards and how they travel by themselves in bus stop, they go to the library, and what sort of thing they're studying, I literally levitated. I sat this high from my chair, and when she opened for questions, I was in there first. And I said to her, I live in PE, I live in a university town, I'm affiliated with the university. Please tell me how we're going to do this. I'm just raring to go and get with her. And she said, you know that we've made contact with every university, and not one university in this entire country is interested in even listening to our proposal. Yeah, so anyway, 5 minutes. Okay, listen, I'm on page 2. Alright. I'm going to go nowhere else with this whole talk and this fantastic presentation I had for you. The point that I do want to make is that if you're going to send your child to a school, please try and opt for a school that offers a mainstream environment. I see in terms of Hayley's development how wonderfully she has developed. She's now in grade 1. She doesn't go to school by herself. That was very clever and interesting. She goes to school with her other little 22 friends, but I have chosen to get a tutor for her. The school didn't insist on this. This has been my choice. And after interviewing very, very, very many teachers, I found the most precious woman who's a mother, who was very interested in homeschooling her children, but absolutely has the same values and the same heart for children that I have. And under Shona's guidance, who goes with her on a month, 4 days a week only, for 4 hours in the morning, Hayley is now writing, she is reading, both of which is a bit lit one, slip one, but she's getting there. And she's at the stage where now when she fills in a birthday card and stuff like that, she's able to, we can either say A, B, C or ABBA and whatever, and she writes it and fills it in. And she's so proud. She's so very, very proud of what she can do. So yeah, our children are uniquely able for something different than the ordinary. And we are ordinary parents. We're a group of very ordinary parents that are brought together by extraordinary circumstances. I look forward with lots of anticipation and excitement to the rest of my journey with my daughter with Down syndrome and with the parents of children with Down syndrome. To me, it's extraordinary to be able to input, and when I'm not in such a rush or haven't had 3 hours of sleep, to actually speak at a pace in which we can actually absorb